Ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Joe Mooche. I am the Artistic Director for the Jazz Arts Project, a nonprofit organization coming to you from the wonderful town of Red Bank. Just a reminder, if you would all turn off your microphones and mute yourselves during the show, we can unmute each other. We can unmute you when it comes down maybe to applause. And certainly to ask questions, perhaps. So from time to time we can do that. But for by and large, let's mute our things. Also, I think Jacqueline has already. Jacqueline, by the way, is our Zoom guru, helping us with this meeting, and I think she's already asked everybody to open up your chat window. And if you have questions for Champion or me or anybody, go ahead and put it in the chat window, and we will try to get to all of them. Sometimes there's too many to get to, but we'll try. We'll either read them from that window, or we will open up your mic and have you ask them directly. So, assuming everybody knows about Zoom, you've done this before. Many of you, if you haven't, don't be shy. Turn on your camera. We love to see your beautiful smiling faces, of course. So today, tonight is another special night, but expressly special because our guest tonight we've produced as a guest on many of our shows here at the Count Basie Theater or at the Two River Theater. She's probably the busiest musician on lockdown that I know. She's all over the place. It's wonderful that she's making those appearances, and she's got a great following, and we're very happy to have her here, ladies and gentlemen. Champian Fulton. Hey. Welcome, Champion.
Thank you. Good to see everybody. This is great. Hey, hi. Good to see everyone. Thanks for having me. Happy Memorial Day. Happy beginning of summer.
It is Memorial Day. And for all you veterans out there, thank you for your service. And we are definitely thinking about all those that we lost. Not only through all the wars, thank you, Bob, but also through this pandemic. Unfortunately, we've lost many people. But on a happier note, Champion, I do know that every Sunday you have a show online, and it's gotten very popular. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So when the lockdown began, which was sort of like mid-March, I was supposed to be going to Europe, and I had all these gigs that were canceled or postponed. And I wanted to do something to stay in touch with everyone and also to continue performing. And I had this idea to do Facebook Lives. I love Facebook Live. We've even done it before from the Two River Theater. And so we started doing it on Sundays at 5 p.m. local time here in New York. And the audience has really grown. It's been great. We were live yesterday, and we had people from 27 countries watching.
Wow, that's incredible.
Thank you. Yeah, it's been really fun. It's been just a lot of people, and sometimes I do it myself. Stephen plays with me a lot, my father, and sometimes we have themes to the shows, and then sometimes we just play songs that I like, and I like to respond to comments, and a lot of people text, and it's really a fun way to kind of interact with people. Even though I don't get to see people's faces on Facebook, it's still fun to see everyone.
That's great. Wow.
Well, I've asked Champion, excuse me, tonight especially because she's an absolute pro at these online performances and meetings. So, we're just starting out to figuring out how to do this. So I appreciate you guys coming around and bearing with us while we figure it out. But here she is. Maybe do you want to play something and get the ball rolling?
Yeah, I'd love to. Absolutely. Um, there's always technical things happening with the live streaming. We've been pretty lucky with it because going on Facebook and YouTube is a little bit of a simpler platform than Zoom. But we have had some. A couple weeks ago, my microphone quit working in the middle of the show. It was terrible. But enough about that. I'm going to play a song for you guys. I'm in my house on the Upper East Side, and I put jewelry on, which is always ambitious. I have to take it off when I play. And I'll do one of my favorites. You might have heard me do this one before. Be sure it's true when you say, I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. Millions of hearts have been broken just because these words, they were spoken. I love you, yes I do. I love you. If you break my heart, I will die. So be sure that it's true when you say, I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. Be sure that it's true when you say, I love you. It's a sin to tell a lie. Millions of hearts have been broken just because these words, they were spoken. I love you, yes I do. I love you. If you break my heart, I will die. So be sure that it's true when you say I love you. It's a sin to tell a
She unmutes automatically.
That was fantastic.
Thank you.
And
Things were.
yeah, definitely. Let's unmute ourselves for the applause. That works out great.
I like to keep my my fan here with me, but it was rattling when I was playing.
Is that one of your biggest fans?
It is my best fan, my biggest
Your
fan, my
best-
best fan, my most reliable.
There you go.
Um,
I heard that you are now is that a Yamaha piano, by the way?
yeah, yes, this is my Yamaha piano.
I heard from a little birdie that said that you were now a Yamaha artist.
Yes, I am. So that's been something I really wanted for a very long time. And for whatever reason, we had never really fully connected. And we started with these live from lockdown shows. That's what I call my Sunday shows, live from lockdown. And after we had done a few, actually Yamaha saw the live streaming videos and reached out to me and was like, "Oh, let's talk about them."
They
And
recognize the piano, huh?
yeah, and so that's really exciting. And I hope that this month, coming up in June, I can get my piano tuned because I was going to be gone most of the spring, and so I thought, oh, I'll just tune the piano when I come home. And definitely there's some notes that need some help. And then yesterday, I thought I broke a string in the middle of the show, actually. So she needs some love.
How do you tune a piano in the middle of a lockdown, I wonder?
I'm hoping somewhere there is some piano tuner who is very healthy and would like to come and tune my piano.
Last week, Brandon told us that he was taking a piano tuning course, so he can figure out how to tune it himself.
I know some people are, and there was a kit on Amazon where you could buy the tool, but I don't want to mess her up, like I'd rather have a real. It's really an art. I mean, to tune a piano.
There's definitely an art to it. Yes.
So I want to wait, and hopefully that'll happen.
So, you want to talk about some of your influences, and I know you've been honoring some people lately on some of your shows.
Yes, I would love to. I thought I saw a question go by, but we can come back to that.
See, I gotta look everywhere.
Yeah, there's a lot going on. Maybe if I see the question, should I just go ahead and answer it?
You can, sure.
Okay. I don't know who said this. Maybe it was Jacqueline.
It was me.
Who asked about performing in Europe and what's my favorite country. I did my first European tour in 2012, and I typically go to Europe maybe 4 or 5 times a year. Sometimes like really extended long tours and sometimes shorter things. I love touring in general, being on the road. It's like so much fun because you go to a different city or a different place, every day, every couple days. I really enjoy getting to see new people, see new places. Actually, even sort of got to where I liked airplanes, which is unusual. But I think all the countries are so different. It's hard to say like a truly favorite country. I really love Spain. In fact, last year at the end of my spring tour, I vacationed for a week in Valencia. I love Spain because the weather and the food and the people, but I love France. And I went to Tuscany last year for the first time. Italy was fantastic. I'm also I love Denmark. And Copenhagen has become one of my favorite cities to visit. So I don't know. I really love all of those different places. I've been so fortunate to visit a lot of really exotic places too. We played in Morocco a few times, and we played in Mongolia before in the winter, and it is very cold. It's actually close to Siberia. I never knew that until I got there, and it was minus 40 Fahrenheit the first day, and I was like, oh, okay, great.
Oh my gosh. That sounds freezing. And then, Champion, I have one more question that's connected to my first two. So when you are traveling abroad and touring abroad, and this may be a silly question, but when you interact with the audience, of course, not everyone speaks English. Do you speak other languages? Do you sing in other languages? How does it, I'm so fascinated by how you interact with the culture, and I think you do a great job there. Can you talk a little bit about your interactions with people of other languages when you're touring?
Well, I don't speak any other languages, and I sing one song. I have a song in Spanish on my Christmas record. I would like to do more songs in Spanish, but I only speak English. So when I travel
You don't do La Vie en Rose?
No, I don't do that.
It's the one everybody does in French.
I get a lot of course, people want to hear songs in their native language. It's just very difficult to do it. And to do it properly, French is very difficult. I just speak in English when I'm on stage, and I talk just like now. And sometimes people laugh at my little jokes, even though I think they just don't always understand, you know what I'm saying. Um, but I have had people translate before. In Mongolia, I had a translator on stage with me, and she would translate what I said. Um,
Okay.
but you know, my agent speaks French. Someone always speaks the language wherever we are, and they sort of tend to handle things if I really need, like to do an interview or something. Um, but I actually really enjoy speaking to other people when they speak their language at me and I speak my language at them, and I think you can have a really great conversation.
Yeah, you really can, and I think that's so brave of you. I think that's really admirable and incredible that you put yourself out there and you do that even though there is a language barrier. I think that's amazing, and what we all know is that everyone speaks the language of music, right? And you really show that.
Thank
That's great.
you.
Thank you.
Very good questions.
And just a reminder, please, everyone, ask your questions in the chat.
Well, I had that start about the your influences and who you're honoring these days, as far as musicians. Sadly, by the way, you know we just lost Jimmy Cobb, the drummer from the Miles Davis.
Yeah, that actually Jimmy passed away last night. He was 91. I saw him last time I saw him was around Halloween. I'll talk a little bit about Jimmy. I haven't done that. I don't always like to get on the bandwagon on social media where everybody talks about people when they passed away. But I knew Jimmy actually. We played together, and I met him in Oklahoma first. But then when I moved to New York, is that right? When I moved to New York, I was 17, and I met Jimmy, and I was turning 18 just a few weeks later after I moved here. And at the Jazz Standard, which is a club down in Manhattan, kind of on the not Lower East Side, but 27th Street or something. Um, that weekend, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, was the Cedar Walton Trio with Buster Williams and Jimmy Cobb. My 18th birthday, and I went, and it was just such an amazing weekend of music, and they were so nice to me and so friendly. Of course, I was a little bit odd because I was like this young girl by herself. I didn't know anyone in town, so I was just like by myself and just sitting up by the bandstand, and like I wanted to play. I told Cedar I wanted to sit in like on his gig. And Cedar was like, "Oh, yeah, yeah." You know, I think he thought that was kind of charming or cute. In fact, later I found out that it reminded him of himself going to see Duke Ellington when he was in the service. He was about 20, and he saw Duke Ellington, and he wanted to sit in with Duke Ellington's band. So, you know, we just became friends, and Jimmy was always so nice to me. And I don't know if you ever met Jimmy, but he was very plain spoken and not a man of a lot of words. But he was very nice to me. We played together, and it was my first winter in New York, and I remember he just thought that was, you know, I didn't really have like a big coat. I didn't have boots. I didn't know anything about. I'm from Oklahoma. We don't have like winter, and I remember Jimmy would just be like, "What is wrong with you? Like, get some boots, get a coat." He taught me how to tie a scarf because I would wear my scarf, like, and I would leave part of my, you know, like the part that's not covered by the coat would be open, and he was like, "You're gonna get pneumonia." Like, taught me how to cover the scarf, and so I don't know, very funny and sort of odd memories to have with perhaps one of the most successful and swinging jazz drummers of all time. Of course, if you don't know, he's the drummer on Kind of Blue, which is a very famous record. He plays with Miles Davis for a long time. And he played with my hero, Dinah Washington. They were married. And so Jimmy had a long and wonderful career. But I should talk about Dinah Washington, maybe. Dinah is my favorite singer, and I became introduced to her music when I was a very young girl because my father liked her, Stephen, and he had this great record with our friend on the record, Clark Terry. And so I became totally obsessed with Dinah's music. And last night on Live from Lockdown, we actually tributed Clark, who you can see maybe. That's a photo of Clark right there because we left it up from last night. Clark was a good friend of my father's, and I knew him my whole life. So I've been involved in in jazz for a very long time. Actually, I sent some photos of little me with Clark, if you guys want to put them up on the screen.
Yeah, Melissa, you have access to those?
Yep.
All right. I think you can share
Yeah.
your screen with those photos at some point. Also, along the way, maybe as we're listening to some music, I'll want to just throw out some questions on our poll that we're looking at. So every once in a while, you'll get a poll question up. If you could answer them, and we'll be done with that.
I see Arthur asking a question. I'll just talk about that question while Melissa pulls up these photos. Arthur asked if I sing in the original key of a song or if I change keys in a tune while I'm playing. As a woman, I don't sing in too many original keys. I feel like most of the songs are for male voices, and so I tend to have to change the key in general. And sometimes I change the key from day to day, depending how I feel. We have arrangements where we modulate also key changes in the song, but that has to be, if you're playing with a band, has to be worked out ahead of time. But that's mostly I have to sing in different keys. And people ask me how to figure out what is a good key for your voice. What I do is I just sit down at the piano and I just play through the song in different keys. Some songs are more rangy than others, and I think it's important to find the key that you feel comfortable in, but also maybe where the voice sounds the way you want it to fit with the lyric or melody. You can get very sort of deep and metaphysical with keys also, because the key can relate very closely to the tempo. And some keys and some tempos together are really crowd pleasing. So we think about a lot of different things when we're choosing keys for songs, not only vocally, but instrumentally as well.
Also, depends on the range of the song itself. And by and large, the difference between a male voice and a female voice is essentially a tritone, which is an interval of an augmented fourth, for those of you keeping score. So we don't have Clark Terry up yet, do we? Do we have something we can play by him meanwhile?
I think I sent some YouTube links also to Melissa, but that's a lot. That's a lot for Melissa.
No, I got it. It's the one with Clark Terry, right?
Right.
Okay.
Melissa is a trumpet player in the Jazz Arts Academy, who probably has graduated high school by now. Is that right?
Not yet. I have a few weeks, but
A few weeks away from graduation. Yeah. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So as a jazz trumpet player, you should enjoy this, Melissa. So let's hear some Clark Terry.
John will make the famous introduction to Duke Ellington's Satin Bow.
That's a great, it goes into a piano solo there. That's actually a YouTube video. Yeah, I know, Steven. That's actually a YouTube video of Clark playing at this club in Copenhagen called Jazz Montmartre, which I played at for the first time last spring. And that video is the year I was born, which I won't tell you actually what year that is. You'll have to. No, it'll just if you look at the video, you can see. But and that's kind of a cool thing for me is to get to go to these places where Clark was, you know, where Clark had played, and then now for me to play it. It's really nice to have that sense of continuity with someone I knew.
That's great.
I wish we could show you guys those pictures, but actually I have one right here framed. I'm just going to show it to you in a frame. This is like, let me see. This is me. I'm about 5 here.
Can you bring it a little bit closer?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, that's
Sorry, there's a bit of a glare there. But we're on stage there in Oklahoma, which is where I'm from. And Clark actually, evidently, I don't remember this, but Clark was playing the song Satin Doll, which is the song we just heard. And he asked me to come up. I guess I'm the Satin Doll. I don't know. It's so silly. But he was just really like a grandfather to me. I knew him very well.
That's great. Thank you, Champion.
Yeah.
And Joe, you're still muted there. I don't know if you realize that.
I did not, thank you. Okay, so do we have any questions over here?
Oh, I see a question here for Carmen. I mean, from Carmen. Is that the one you were talking about?
No, I didn't even see Carmen's.
What
Oh,
challenges?
there it is.
What challenges and opportunities exist for upcoming jazz artists in the current music industry? That is a very well worded question.
Great question. Great question.
I think right now it's right now specifically a very odd time for our business because so much of what we do is centered around performing and getting gigs. And of course, those things aren't happening. I took a phone call today from a good friend of mine who was talking about this very thing. She was saying, I don't know how to get gigs anymore. What are gigs anymore? And I was telling her that this is a really odd time in that you can just turn on your phone like we're doing now, and you can live stream and you can reach people. And I think that's really always the focus that I tell young musicians is that you have to just want to make music and share music with people any way you can. And now we're doing it virtually, hopefully again in person very soon. But I think really just have to keep making music and sharing music with people and generating your career that way. You know, that's how I've always approached it and how I think of it. And what I'm still attempting to do now, you know, and will keep attempting to do forever. I'm really good friends with Lou Donaldson, who's a wonderful saxophone player, Blue Note artist. You've definitely heard his music. He'll be 94 this year. And Lou says, you know, Lou always says that me and him are the same. We're just still scuffling for a gig, you know, like that's what we're doing. We just want to play a gig. I just want to get to the next gig, you know, and the next gig after that. So I think just make music. That's the thing. I saw another question pop up while I was talking.
Well, on that line, we'll get back to that question, but on that line, you know, one of the things we've always talked about in terms of performing music is that, you know, that conversation, not only between the musicians, but between the musicians and the audience. So, you know, it's like even something like this is different because you don't have that immediacy. You're not in the same room. It helps when we turn on the microphones and everybody applauds and things like that, but it's definitely not the same. So I noticed that a lot of bands, for example, are putting together videos where they're all playing their individual parts at home.
Mhm.
And it's just not the history of this music. The history of this music is to play together and to communicate together. So I don't know what kind of changes that'll be um, in the future, but hopefully sooner or later we'll be back performing. Um, was this Tony's question? Have you seen changes in the students you teach over the years or in different parts of the country?
Hmm. Um, not really. I think students come to this music, the certain kind of person who comes to this music and what they want to learn and what they want to do with it is generally very consistent. All over the world, in my experience. Of course, you see different levels of commitment to practice, maybe, or different, things like that. But I would say, in a general sense, we all have to sort of learn about jazz the same way, and we tend to be jazz musicians and the jazz community at large, which is the community, the listeners, and the people who come to the clubs and the club owners, sort of a similar kind of person, which I think lends itself just to the organic nature of the community. So I think all over the world, that's basically the same. I think Tony asked, does the quality of the piano vary when you are touring? And have you ever
Right.
had to
Sorry, I
play
missed that
out
one.
of tune piano? Yes, all the time, of course. You come to really wonderful pianos and you come to some that are not wonderful and some that are in tune and some that are not. It doesn't bother me. I mean, you want to play on a super nice piano all the time, but um, I mean, there's so many Errol Garner records, Red Garland records, Count Basie records where the piano is not the best instrument. It's it is what it is. You still have to play the gig. Certainly, I think it's funny. If you have you guys seen the movie Green Book? Because that is very accurate. That film. There's a couple scenes where they show up to the gig, and the manager, the driver, but he's managing the road manager, has to tell the venue like this isn't going to work. We have in our contract the Steinway, blah blah blah. That's that's pretty standard. I think that's a really good movie.
One of the things about our organization is from the start, I have always wanted our productions and our concerts to have acoustic pianos in them because the piano keyboard, it's kind of like it's not even a piano. It's a different instrument entirely, and there's nothing that sounds like a good acoustic keyboard. We've been lucky that I think every performance we've ever done is on acoustic piano, save maybe a park concert. Um, Here
Well,
and there.
that piano at the Two River Theater is a tremendously beautiful instrument.
That's a 9-foot Steinway grand, yeah.
That's really nice.
But the out of tune piano with keys missing, and I mean that's historically one of those issues.
Yeah.
I guess that's where the term honky tonk came from, honky tonk piano, right?
Oh, definitely. And I think people don't even think about it. I had a gig here in New York for a while. It was a restaurant gig. I played 3 nights a week. It was a really nice upscale place by the UN, and the piano just kept getting like worse and worse and worse. And I was telling them, you got to tune the piano. You've got to, let me find a tuner. We have to tune the piano. And finally, the owner, she was so frustrated with me, and she said, "Wasn't it tuned when I bought it at the factory?" And I was like,
I actually did a concert. I forget where it was, Louisville or something like that, way out, somewhere out in the Midwest, and they shipped in a piano. It was a baby grand piano. They got it up onto the stage, and it was before the rehearsals. They had 3 o'clock, and I said, "Isn't there somebody here to tune it?" And they literally said, "We tuned it before we brought it here." And if you know anything about pianos, if you move them, it needs to be tuned. Bob Tuzo had a question. Do you like other types of music, and do you occasionally experiment with other types in a jazz format?
Yeah, I think so. I do. My mother's yelling out. So, I'm from Oklahoma, and I like a good song. So I like a lot of you know, traditional country and western tunes. I like we recently started playing an instrumental arrangement of the Carpenters' "Close to You." I think of "Lollipops and Roses," a song I like to sing. It's not necessarily, you know, a jazz song, a jazz standard. I just like a good song. Um, I know Bob knows a lot of really great songs, and I'm always on the hunt looking for new things. Actually, I have a song I'd like to play for you guys right now that is one that is new to me. It's certainly not a new song. It was a Bessie Smith hit, and I've been getting a lot of requests on my Facebook page for these shows on Sunday, and this was a request. And actually, it's a great tune, and I would like to play it for you guys. Maybe I'll play it now, and then we'll go back to questions.
Yeah, please do. Please do.
Okay. Once I lived a life of a millionaire. Spent my money, I didn't care. I carried my friends out for a real good time, buying expensive liquor, champagne and wine. Then I began to fall so low. I didn't have a friend, no place to go. If I ever get my hands on a dollar again, I'm gonna hold on till the eagles grin. 'Cause nobody knows you when you're down and out. In my pocket, not one penny. And as for friends, I haven't any. If I ever get on my feet again, I know I'll meet my long lost friends. Ain't it mighty strange? Without a doubt, nobody knows you when you're down and out. If I ever get on my feet again, I know I'll meet my long lost friend. Well, it's mighty strange, without a doubt. Nobody knows you when you're down and out. Nobody knows you when you're down and out. Thank you. Thank you.
That's great. I have a question from Carmen. I'm going to just unmute him and have him ask it. If I can find Carmen. Jacqueline, you know where Carmen is?
I got to
There you go.
unmute myself.
There you go.
Hi, everybody. So, Champion, this is great. My question is just curious, what would you consider the most difficult song you've learned, or that you learned for yourself that you were really proud of? One where you kind of rose to the occasion and challenged yourself. I'd be curious.
That's a good question, a tricky question. I think I'll tell you about a project I just did that's more than one song. But I have a new record coming out in August, and it's the music of Charlie Parker. And perhaps when we started this project, which was last year, about a year ago, I felt very confident because we were going to play. I was picking the tunes, and I thought, oh, well, I'll pick the tunes I like. And he played a lot of jazz standards, and a lot of his songs that he wrote are jazz standard changes. And I thought, okay, it won't be that hard. But I was wrong because the songs that he picked, I never thought about this or realized this, are actually very difficult for numerous reasons. They tend to be super rangy, which of course is perfect for the alto saxophone, a little more difficult for my voice. They are really simple with their chord changes, making it harder to play on because there's less going on. So you have to really be melodic and creative. The tempos were very subtle. And then, of course, his tunes, technically, just learning the lines in my right hand was very hard. So I felt like that project was a lot of real work and practicing. And I hope I rose to the occasion.
And it's not out yet?
No, so it comes out, the name of it is Birdsong, and it'll be out on August 28th. And we're actually, it's coming out that weekend because Charlie Parker would have been 100 on August 29th. It's his centennial this year. So it'll be out on the 28th. And it features my band, which is the band I was in Red Bank with last summer, Fuku and Hide and Steven, plus a special guest on tenor saxophone, Scott Hamilton. So I think it's really nice, but I think even not just for me, but just for my band in general, when we really got into the project, we were like, oh.
I'm going to ask Carmen to stick around for a second. First of all, Champion, where can we buy your CDs or your music or your website and all that stuff? You want to just give that out now?
Yeah. All of my records, this is actually my 13th album, Lucky number 13.
13.
It's, yes, Jacqueline's got my website there, which is champion.net. And all of my albums are on all of your favorite streaming sites. If you use Spotify, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Play, Amazon Music, they're there. And if you would like a signed copy of anything, a physical copy, an actual compact disc, I will mail it to you. And you can order it through my website, which is champion.net. I think Joe
Joe,
muted
you're
it.
muted. Joe, you're still muted.
I'm still muted. There you go.
There you go.
Of course, look for Champion on Facebook and on her websites. Meanwhile, I just want to interrupt for a second. Carmen happens to be our development director, and I just want to ask Carmen for a few words that might help out our organization.
So thanks, Joe, and Champion, thank you. This is...
Uh-oh.
Where'd he go?
We lost Carmen at the crucial moment. All right, well, moving on.
He can, well, when he comes back.
So Jacqueline has posted Champion's links, as well as our link in the chat room.
Hello, can you hear me?
Oh, there you go. There you are. You're back.
Sorry about that. Technical difficulties. My phone, something just went out. Anyway, going to make it real quick and short. Champion, you're great. This is great. I want to give a round of applause to Joe for coordinating Mondays with Mooche. This has been very fun and great way for me to get out of quote unquote my house. And just want to say to everyone, Jazz Arts Project is in business. We are producing Mondays with Mooche. Jazz Arts Academy is still in session. There is remote learning happening online. Teachers are in their homes, students are in their home. Jackie just put up in the chat room, if you take a look, we have our website, jazzartsproject.org/give. Make a donation and help us continue doing what we're doing. I say the real thing is this. We know we're not getting together now. It really isn't just, it's not that this is going to happen forever. It's just a matter of time. So whether it's going to be in August, September, October, and when we do get together, we may have to make some special arrangements in how we do things. Things are going to be different for a little while, but they're still going to be going on and they're going to be happening. So we need your support. We appreciate your support. Whatever you can give, please make a donation. We're going to be continuing these Mondays, every Monday. And as I said, planning is also happening. And I know Joe is working right now in conversations about the summer jazz camp, because if it doesn't happen in person, alternative plans are constantly being made. So like I said, business is still going on. So please give us your support. And Champion, thank you for being a support to us and being here on Monday. I have to say this real quick. I had to put a shirt on because I was wearing my t-shirt, and I said, I gotta put a shirt on so I can look nice like Champion. You can look all great, and you raised the bar for me on this Zoom. So thanks a lot.
Thanks so much, Carmen. Thank you very much. Yeah, Champion is really the fashion plate. Every time you come online, you have a new outfit.
I'm trying to only wear my dresses in one video, so I'm really gonna get through the closet, I think.
There you go. And I promise at some point in the future we will have Champion back live and in person at one of our events for sure. Would you like to play something else for us?
Yeah, I would. I saw Jacqueline posted a couple questions.
Oh.
Also, I know Bob Tuzo asked me, do I ever sing Baby It's Cold Outside? But I think he's just trolling me. I don't know if you,
yes, I'm sure.
If you guys saw me perform with Bob and Tony, we actually sang Baby It's Cold Outside a few times, and I could never ever remember all those words. So many words, and Bob was always.
I have to say that I demanded, I guess, I really pushed the issue that you guys do that song. So it's my fault.
No, it was very cute, and I think, and it was fun, but I just thought we always had so much fun. Of course, I love singing with Bob and Tony. We always had a great time anyway.
I bet many of the audience here right now have seen those performances. So, you know, you guys have there's a little reaction button. You can actually do a like a thumbs up kind of thing, like I just did on mine. Oh, there you go.
I clap for myself.
And you can applause as well. Right.
But I like to joke that the applause emoji is actually wash your hands.
That's very funny.
Well, I mean, it's very apropos.
That's right.
I'm going to steal that from you.
But Jacqueline asked about getting nervous before I perform. And I don't get nervous in person. Like if I'm playing at the Two River Theater, or if I'm playing a show or a gig and I'm either by myself or with my band, I never feel nervous. I shouldn't say never, but like I used to be nervous when I was little, when I was 12, 15. By the time I was 16 or 17, it didn't happen anymore. But I will say that this new medium of doing everything online and doing everything virtually I do sort of sometimes get a little nervous, only because it's so strange, because I'm on my phone right now, and I'm looking at this very small screen and trying to imagine that we're all in the room together. And I feel like a talking head on the TV or on the news, you know, and they must just feel ridiculous, like laughing by yourself in the room, you know. So I do get a little bit nervous. And it's also, you always want there to be good attendance when you're playing in a show in person, but also same online. And
Sure.
when we do these Facebook Lives, the attendance button is in the corner of my screen. So I watch, you can see the number. And when the number's going up or the number's staying the same, you're like, yeah. And then if the number starts to drop, you're like, oh, what's going on? And so it's a new experience.
That's great. Thank you.
Indeed, it's a new experience, and we are sort of inclined to produce shows so that there's no glitches, so that we have an entertaining show as best as we can for our audiences, right? Mm-hmm. So, Champion knows what I'm talking about, and hopefully you people have seen some of our previous shows. Maybe there's a flub here and there, but it's not that big a deal. It's actually a nice show. In this case, we're all nervous about, how to produce these things, and what can we do to make it better, and what the parameters are. So we're learning. We're learning. By the time we get it down, we'll all be back to work, I suspect. But we'll have a new skill at least. Don't you want to play something else for us?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. You're just too marvelous for words. Like glorious, glamorous, that old standby amorous. It's all too wonderful. I'll never find the words that say enough, that tell enough. I mean, they just not swell enough. You're much, too much, just too very, very to ever be in Webster's dictionary. And so I'm borrowing a love song from the birds to tell you that you're marvelous, too marvelous for words. You're just too marvelous for words. Like glorious and glamorous, that old standby amorous. It's all too wonderful. I'll never find the words that say enough, that tell enough. I mean, they just not swell enough. You're much too much, just too very, very to ever be in Webster's dictionary. And so I'm borrowing a love song from the birds to tell you that you're marvelous, too marvelous for words. You're just too marvelous for words. Like glorious and glamorous, that old standby amorous. It's all too wonderful. I'll never find the words that say enough, that tell enough. I mean, they just aren't spell enough. You're much too much, just too very, very to ever be
Where's your next foray, Champion?
My next foray is this Sunday on my Facebook and YouTube page at 5 p.m. New York City time. We'll be live this past Sunday. We tributed Clark Terry, and I'm sure we'll have a theme for this week coming as well. I'm live there every Sunday for the foreseeable future, and in fact, into the future. I intend to keep doing it if possible once we return to live performances, because it's been so amazing to be able to connect with people. I mean, 27 countries watched yesterday.
Yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah.
Here's another question. It just occurred to me. Have you thought about actually producing an album based on this, Quarantunes? Like an album just like this, essentially, but having each of your band members do their own thing and edit it all down in Pro Tools and see if it actually can be viable.
I think that is a very popular idea. I think we'll see a lot of that. Personally, I don't want to do that. I miss playing with my guys. I want to go into the studio again with them this year. I was actually thinking maybe more like along the lines of the next project being a solo piano or a duo record. I have a duo record, my album Dream a Little, but I thought maybe it would be nice. I really for a long time wanted to make a duo record with my father, Champian Fulton, who plays trumpet and flugelhorn, and we've been playing these shows together and working on a lot of duo things, and so maybe that'll be the next project. But I don't know. I can't imagine making music with my band from afar, or how would you even say it? Isolated, or we don't even like to be on a big stage. We don't even like to be far apart from each other. Like when we're on the gig, I want to be able to like reach over and like touch the drums and what if I want to like poke Hide or something? I don't even want to be far away from them, much less in another room. So we'll see.
Right. That's it. You have to deal with the space-time continuum. Yeah, I understand that. But, a lot of students are doing that.
Mm-hmm.
Some of our students actually are doing that themselves. Ben, I think, is on here somewhere, our drummer from the academy. He's put together a few videos like that. And they're interesting. You see a block of each person playing, and they have to work out the timing and the syncing and all that stuff on some kind of editing issue. But it's possible. And a friend of mine, I did a concert once in Australia with a musician named James Morrison. Know that name? Trumpet player. Very famous trumpet player over there. And he did his own video. This is like 5-6 years ago.
I know what end this.
You know that it is? And it looks just like this. It's him in every square playing a different instrument. So he had his own big band, and the whole big band was him, except for some reason the drummer. I think is it called?
I think the drummer's his son.
Saying what?
I think the drummer is his son.
Oh, is that right?
I think so.
Oh, it may be.
Yeah.
But it was really well done. And I don't, 5 years ago, I didn't know how the hell he pulled it off. It was spectacular the way he did it. I forget what it's called, Scooby Doo or Scooby.
Something
maybe Steven knows. Anyway, if you look up James Morrison, Australian trumpet player, you'll see he does his own thing when he plays every instrument in a big band, and he does it well, which is the amazing part.
Yeah.
Let's see. Do we have any other questions for Champion? Champion, you are a joy to listen to and to see.
Thank you.
That's from Michelle de la Fave.
Thank you.
Michelle is also one of our singers that we've used on the Sinatra show. Hi, Michelle.
Hi, how are you? Good to see everyone. And love you, Champion, as usual. Wonderful. What a joy. Thank you.
What would you like to? We have like a couple of minutes, basically, and then we can wrap it up. What would you like to share with us, play, or share, or talk about? The floor is yours.
I'm looking over to my producer to see if they have any suggestions.
I asked a question earlier. I don't think you answered yet, Champion. What do you practice most often? Your own music, new tunes, hard tunes? What do you practice, and when?
So when I'm usually like in normal times when I'm traveling a lot and playing a lot, I don't practice as much maybe as I want to, but just because the time constraints, when you're on the road or even if you're home for a few days, very difficult. So I've sort of been reconnecting with practicing during this time now that I'm home, and it's been really great actually. I hate to say anything is great during this time period, but that I have enjoyed. I do very minimal sort of technical things when I warm up at the beginning. And then I usually am working towards some kind of project. Either I'm practicing for a record we want to make, or I'm, now that we have these shows on Sunday, and if they have a theme, then I'm practicing the tune, for that theme. And usually when I learn a song, I learn it orally, like by ear. So I will listen to several different versions of the same song. And I will learn from those. I just learned, this is silly, it's an old song, everybody knows it, but I myself just learned the song Dinah. So I listened to Fats Waller version, I listened to Louis Armstrong, and I listened to Errol Garner, and I don't want to say I transcribed, but you get a few little things from each recording, and then I would practice that. And I've been working a lot on solo piano since that's what I've got happening now. Which means practicing a lot of stride and left hand and things like that are useful to me now because I don't have my band. But my practicing tends to be better when it's focused about a project.
That's great. Thank you.
I suspect that all of us in these months are going to come out with very strange new skills, right? Because we're home, we need something to do, we need some hobbies or something. I've been working on gourmet cooking myself. You may have seen some of that on my Facebook feed, but I suspect there's going to be a lot of strange skills that people come up with. That, who knows, that could mean a lot of great things coming out, in a year or two. A lot of new thinking, maybe some new projects, maybe some new inventions. It might be a great thing.
I see Bob asked me to play something from one of my earlier albums. Hi, Jerry. Oh, thank you. Jerry commented. That's nice. It's actually funny. Yes, I will play something from one of my early records. So since this 13th record is coming out in August 28th, we're actually going to for 13 weeks, starting in June, I'm going to be posting like behind the scenes anecdotes and photos from each of my other records, which is kind of like a little retrospective for me, and I hope it'll be fun for everyone to sort of see some behind the scenes stuff. It'll be good for me to revisit these songs. So my first record came out in 2006. I'm trying to think of what song I'm going to play. This is a song actually that it's funny. My record came out in 2006 and I first performed, I think, in Red Bank at the Sinatra Bash, also in 2006 or 2007. And this song is on my first record, which is aptly titled Champion. And it is the very first song I ever played in Red Bank. And it is still one of my favorite songs. And that's a long introduction to say I'm going to play You Turned the Tables on Me. You turned the tables on me. you brought the presents you brought? Why hadn't you brought me more? But now if you'd come, I'd welcome anything from the 5 and 10 cent store. You used to call me the top. You put me up on a throne. You let me fall with a drop. And now I'm all on my own. But after thinking it over and over, I got what was coming to me, just like the sting of a bee. You turned the tables on me. Just like the sting of a bee, you turn the tables on me. You turn the tables on me.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, Champion, I just wanted to thank you profusely for doing this for us. It was really great, and I'm curious if we did an actual concert in this format, would you all tune in, and would you, maybe is it worth a few shekels to see the concert? I guess. If that is if that is true, you just put a thumbs up, and we can at least do that. Because there you go.
I see a lot of
them.
thumbs.
Yeah, they don't have a thumbs down for the reactions, so it's no hard to tell. So that may mean that we can do a concert at some point, just a straight out. You come on and play as if you're on stage doing a concert, right? So we can talk about that, and we'll see what we can do to schedule that.
Yeah.
This is more of a talk and chat and ask questions format, but we can certainly explore the concerts. How do you feel about that, Champion?
I love that.
It's what you do.
I love to play. I love to do all the things. I'm on board.
Well, thank you for what you do. I'm sure we all feel the same way, and we're all listening. So, folks, thanks for coming. And next week, I have an announcement. Next week, our special guest will be Aaron Weinstein, the jazz violinist and raconteur. So be sure to tune in next week for Aaron Weinstein. Thanks so much,
Great.
Champion, once again, and thank you all for attending.
Thank you.
And now we all go to the bar.
Great. Thank you, Champion.
Thank you, Champion. Thank
You can unmute
Joe.
yourself and have a party right now.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Very
It was wonderful. Happy holiday.
Yay!
Thank you, Champion. Bless.
On Sunday, come on over to my page if you want, and I'll see you there.
Sundays, check out Champion's Facebook to follow her on Sundays. I think we had like 800 people following on Facebook, by the way, which is pretty good.
Very good.
Cool. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.